This would have been awkward if we were just huddling. Or 10 of us were underneath the cover and the rest of us were getting wet. So we have a platinum sponsor in Providence Health Plan. You see those on the side of the tent there. I want to just recognize them today, that without their support this wouldn't happen. So our gold sponsors are IDEX Corporation and Darwin's Natural Pet Products. Our silver sponsors are Cambia Health Foundation, Heritage Bank, and Land, Title, and Escrow of Island County. Our bronze sponsor, or sponsors, are Larson, Gross, and Permobile Foundation. I'd like you to join me in, thank you. For those of you that were with us over COVID, you remember doing the Unleash Your Love campaign virtually. I was preparing, I remember, you don't see all this because you only saw that perfectly polished, finished product that we did over video. But I was looking back through some of these videos where I actually wore a suit, tried to look all professional for you all. And I took like literally 30 takes. So it was, this is much more fun to be with you in person, human form, to celebrate this 25th year. I want to take you on a little history refresher about Summit. For those of you, anybody here has never heard Summit first time here today? Awesome, thank you. Well, then I'll just speak to you. So, but I thought I would tell you a little bit of the history of how we got to where we are today. So, Sue crafted this whole vision in 2000. Okay, as a non-for-profit, the mission is to create partnerships between highly skilled assistance dogs and people living with disabilities. Okay, pretty simple vision. Extremely hard to deliver, right, to create that vision. How we do it. We have innovative community partnerships that you'll hear about, like with the prison system, that does so much restorative work in not only the people, the dogs and the people inside and the people outside. I'm really proud of what you've done here, Sue. We also do it with volunteers. So a lot of you here, whether you take care of a dog, you train a dog, you do respite, or helping at the kennels, it's volunteers that drive this organization. Number 3, we select and train dogs to assist in retrieving dropped objects. You've seen the credit card thing? It's so cool. These dogs are so smart. Smarter than me. They can pick up a credit card off the floor. I can't even pick up a credit card off the floor. But I don't qualify for assistance dog. Our flunky dog, Rosie, she can't even pick up a credit card. But, we're working on it. But they also open doors and retrieve like emergency phones and really help through the daily activities of living. These dogs are hardwired with unconditional support, love, and when you think about what they do if any of you have pets at home, you understand this too, just like what our dogs do is they provide unconditional love, that they increase the love and acceptance. They also decrease depression, anxiety, and loneliness. And I think all of us remember just a few years ago when we had a thing called COVID. It was an epidemic, I don't know if you heard about it. But all of that sense of loneliness, imagine feeling that your entire life. And that's what these dogs can help with. So the financial how. A lot of people, when we're in our travels, they ask, how have you guys done it? How have you made it through all this, the noise in the world about federal support and people shutting down programs? Summit is 100% supported by the gifts of individuals, companies, foundations. We don't take any government support. And I think that's a huge testament. That's a huge testament. Yeah, Dave? it's a huge testament to the viability of our program. We didn't take on any debt to build what you see here. And so we weren't struggling. It took a lot longer than we thought with COVID, but it's this process of doing the right thing when you have the money, not borrowing against the future. So I think the biggest thing is that there's no charge to clients for the dog. Okay, so we provide the dog free of charge for them. And you can imagine that some of our clients are struggling with high medical bills or health care needs, or they have a loss of employment or less employment. Okay? So we're trying to do everything we can to ease their burden, ease the way. Okay. So I want to wrap up by thanking everyone here. We have created 120 partnerships since Sue started.
Wow.
Isn't that amazing? And I want to thank all of you who continue to unleash your love every year and lean into what the future is going to be. This is just one thing. I've talked to a couple of you about the next phase. I know, Sue, we're not ready to get into phase 2 and 3, but imagine. No. That's another guy who will take on that project. But finally, it is my great honor to introduce an absolute friend. This guy, he is I talk about, you've heard me say superheroes, the superheroes of the dog and the client, these superhero partners. This guy is a superhero who has been instrumental in overseeing the project to build where we are today. He serves as our facilities project manager, and he's going to share what it's been like to build the Canine Condo. Please join me in a huge round of applause for Mark Bunje.
Thank you all very, very, very much. This is a very, very special day, and it's really a great pleasure to see so many people turn out for what I call today. It's not an open house to me. This is not the grand opening. Today is my land ho day. Okay, so you can see where I'm going to go with this, okay? I've been on a voyage on the Good Ship Summit for 12 years now. This all started, so you don't see the building, you know about the forming of Summit, but for me, this started 12 years ago when somebody in this audience who's wearing a yellow jacket refers to herself as a yenta. Okay? I was single at that time, wanted to introduce me to a woman. And this woman, she was a very, very nice, wonderful woman. She was... No, I'm not talking about you, cousin. This is my cousin. And if you go to our fundraising page, there's the Bunje Barron cousin team, which I put out the offer for anyone to better our fundraising attempts. We would really welcome that here at Summit if you can better us. Well, this yenta told me of this woman who was most wonderful, fun and exciting, full of energy, and ran a dog business. I'm a cat person. Well, after our introduction, I found Sue to be a most wonderful, fun, and exciting person, truly full of energy, and not only ran a dog business, but had 6 dogs at her home, where I now reside. Okay. For me, at that time in my life, and this is a whole different story, they weren't horses, so I thought I was ahead in the game. That began the voyage on the Good Ship Summit for me. That voyage, my first assignment, and remember, this is a new relationship, and I would do anything to make Sue happy, okay? I had a background in construction. I was a fire marshal. I worked with government entities. Was to find the right, I'll call it a ship, to fulfill Sue's dream of a permanent home for Summit. Okay. After examining 12 sites, we finally came upon, in 2014, the beautiful 17 acres that we're all at here today. I thought that was pretty good accomplishment. However, that's when the voyage really started. We had many who helped us along our way on this voyage. There were benefactors, quite a few of them, that saw what the Good Ship Summit was all about and its mission, and were willing to, at the beginning of our voyage, contribute heavily to it. We had volunteers who crewed along many of our different passages. We endured terrible storms along the way. There was this one storm called the pandemic. Then there were worldwide delays of provisions where we couldn't get things for, oh, your generator will be here in 6 months. 6 months turned into a year. Then it became 18 months. And there it is, sitting out there in back of us. There were times when we had no crew. We were begging, we were looking, searching. There was no one available to work. And then, when you didn't need them, they were available. So despite all of this, the Good Ship Summit moved forward on our voyage. At times, it was hard to see our forward progress, but we knew we would get there someday. Today, I see land on the horizon. This is why this is my land ho day. Because as a builder, I know there's still so much more to do with this building, and I have not set foot on land yet. But it's there, it's going to happen, and it's been quite the voyage. Nothing could have prepared me for this. So I look out and I also know of the good work that these dogs do and the people. And so there were times during this voyage that I was very discouraged. But all I needed to look at is some of what our clients endured, particularly those who are waiting for dogs. And I go, this is nothing. Okay? There's so many other challenging voyages that people take part of that are a daily part of their lives that make my trials and tribulations here nothing. So, to thank you all, because this has been a group effort. Yes, I've spent many days of my life here at this site, but it's really taken many, many more people than just a few of us here. So, I've been told there are more voyages ahead. There are 2 more on this site, one right over here to our left and one further over there. We'll see if I can manage that. So, at this point, I would like to introduce the skipper of the Good Ship Summit and the skipper of my life, Sue Meinzinger.
Phew. Thanks everybody for coming out and celebrating today. It really means so much to me. To continue with Mark's analogy of a seafaring journey, I have to say that when Mark came into my life, I knew that my proverbial ship had come in. There is no one I would rather have as my first mate. Mark has kept this boat afloat through so many challenges over the course of this project, and without his hard work and commitment, I know we wouldn't have this building. So thank you. Today is a big day, and looking out over all of you, I have some big emotions. There's people I haven't seen for so many years, and it's just, it's like a big homecoming for me. So thank you for coming. Lately, I've been reflecting a lot on a time in my mid-30s when I was concerned that I'd never be able to stick with anything for very long. My life to that point had been a series of different jobs, never lasting more than 2 to 4 years. I would somewhat master the task at hand, and then I'd move on to what seemed like greener pastures elsewhere. I can't say I was unhappy, but I wasn't feeling fulfilled either. I was longing for something, and at the time, I'm not sure I knew what that something was. I just knew I admired people who seemed to have found their calling and had these long careers that spanned 25 and more years. Well, this year marks Summit's 25th anniversary, and I can tell you that I did eventually find my calling. With that, I replaced my longing with a deep sense of contentment and joy. This 25-year voyage hasn't always been easy, but I can't imagine anything I could have done that would be more fulfilling. Witnessing the change that takes place when someone gets partnered with a service dog is just an incredible experience. And working with the men in our prison program at Monroe has been perhaps the most rewarding experience, as I see our dogs reaching them in ways no humans ever could. So in every great adventure story, which Summit has certainly been for me, there are always the heroes and heroines that make the story come to life. In the Summit story, we have literally thousands of heroes and heroines who have supported our work over the years and made it possible for us to be celebrating here today. I'm so grateful for each of you who has supported this mission. Our accomplishments have only been made possible because of our donors, our volunteers, our clients, our friends, and our team of staff, which I feel incredibly privileged to work with. Along this journey, there have been some pivotal moments when people literally parted the seas and allowed us to reach a new milestone. One such moment was in 2014, when one of our supporters made a gift that allowed Summit to purchase this property we are on today. Upon receiving the news, I remember crying. This was such a significant gift for us, and it would change the course of the organization, no doubt. But for me, it was also a gift that said, I believe in you. I can tell you that having that sense that someone believes in you is incredibly powerful. I didn't know in 2014 what challenges lay ahead. At times, the seas got pretty rough, especially through those pandemic years, but jumping ship was just never an option. You simply can't give up when someone has placed their trust in you, and I will always be grateful to that first believer whose actions said, leave the safety of the harbor, Sue, and sail your ship. I'll be there with you. Not long after that first gift to our capital campaign, a few more pivotal supporters made it possible for us to begin construction on the Canine Condo. Again, I'm just so grateful for these donors who said yes before knowing whether the ship would float or sink. I can tell you it's a big leap from the vision board where we planned out this building to the building that you see today. In 2023, our ship was in irons. For those who don't sail, this is an expression used when a sailboat is facing directly into the wind and has no ability to move forward because the wind can't fill the sails. It was a rough year, costs had escalated and the money that had been raised wasn't quite enough to finish the project. Mark and I were suffering low morale. The weight of responsibility felt heavy as we drifted about in the doldrums without enough wind to propel the ship forward. Then, in early 2024, we received this unexpected and amazing gift that put us just shy of having enough money to complete construction. Thanks to another gift that followed soon after that, we were on our way. The sails were filled once again. Today, however, is bittersweet for many of us. The person who put the wind in our sails again in 2024 was Chris Blanchard, a beloved client who was partnered with 2 service dogs from Summit, spanning over 20 years. He also served on our board of directors for many years and was much loved by all his colleagues there. Chris passed away just a few months after making his legacy gift. And it was such a heartbreaking day when I received this news. Chris embodied the very essence of why I founded Summit, and he had been so enthusiastic about the building project and looking forward to its completion. I knew the day I received the news of his passing that the Canine Condo needed to bear his name. Chris, your presence, along with Ben and Griffin, will always be felt at Chris's Canine Condo, and I want to dedicate this building to you today. 25 years held so many amazing memories, and some have touched my emotions in profound ways. I won't soon forget an opportunity I had recently to be at our prison program on the day one of our men was walking out the door to freedom. By chance, we were late arriving to teach class due to a detour on the highway. I entered the prison lobby and was puzzled by the large group of people waiting there, since the lobby was generally empty when we arrived. I soon learned that these were all friends and family of Kyle, one of the men who had been in our dog program. We knew he was leaving prison that day, but I had no idea we'd be there amongst his welcoming brigade, waiting for him to come through the doors. As soon as he appeared in sight, my tears started flowing uncontrollably. I've known Kyle for 15 years within the prison setting, and I've seen the most amazing transformation take place over that time, both as a dog trainer and as a person. To be there on the day that Kyle was going home to his wife, to his dog, to his family and friends, and to a freedom he'd not known for 37 years was a really moving experience for me. One of the reasons I personally teach at our prison class every Tuesday morning is that I never tire of the transformations that I see happening at Monroe. Having the opportunity to work with these men is so special, and what's even more special is that Kyle is here today as a guest speaker whom I'd like to welcome to the stage now. So in closing, I just want to say thank you for the most amazing 25 years of creating these life-changing partnerships together. The Good Ship Summit will no doubt set sail on many more adventures, and there's no one that I'd rather sail the high seas with than all of you. Thank you.
Hi everybody, can you hear me? So the cat's out of the bag. Or more appropriately for this crowd, the dog's out of the kennel. I was in prison. I was in prison for a long time, and until really fairly recently. I've been out for about 2.5 months, after actually almost 36 years, but after that long, what's the damn difference, right? I got bifocals last week. I refused to wear them. And I have to admit, I'm getting old. So stick with my readers. Prison is a place where you see the worst in people. People experiencing the lowest point in their lives. The antisocial norms of the prison environment dominate the daily existence of the people there. And it's easy to become immersed in it. Just as a survival tool and as a coping mechanism, and I was one of those guys. My first 10 years in prison, I did over 6 years in solitary confinement. The prison defines it as a poor adjustment. I guess that's the understatement of my lifetime. I really don't know anyone who has ever adjusted well to prison for the first time. It's just not that kind of a place. You got emotional. That made me emotional, Sue. For me, it was particularly difficult and traumatic. My first decade and a half in prison was something that I wouldn't wish upon anyone. But I adjusted. I lived my life, at least the life sentence that the judge imposed in my case. I don't tell you this to make my speech gratuitously dark. I tell you this about prison because I want to provide a contrast. And between my first decade and a half in prison and the last decade and a half that I did in prison, and the healing that occurred during that time. In 2009, I wanted a change in my life, so I transferred to the Twin Rivers unit of the Monroe Corrections Complex. TRU was different than all the other prisons that I've been to. There's more programming opportunities. There's a lot less prison politics, a lot less gang violence. It's a safe harbor prison, and it takes a special approval by the Department of Corrections Administration to go there, and I was lucky enough to be selected to go there. And then in 2010, that lady showed up. Sue Meinzinger and her Summit folks came into our prison to start a dog program. So I have to tell you about prison dog programs. Right now, most of the prisons have dog training programs. Most of them are shelter rescue dogs that are brought in to be taught basic socialization and basic behavior for the purpose of adopting out to their forever home. This program was a lot different. It was intense. It was intense training. It was the training for the trainers was intense. We prepared for a few weeks prior to the first set of dogs coming in. I was in the first cohort of guys that were selected to participate, and that was a whole vetting process in and of itself. And we trained to receive the dogs, and it was up to that point the only dog. And I'd been incarcerated for 20 years at that time, and the only dogs you see in prison are the Canine narcotics detection dogs, and prisoners aren't even allowed to look at it, let alone pet them. They're completely off limits. They're considered officers, and so that was the only interaction I had with dogs up to that day that Sue and her Summit people brought in the 5 dogs, and I got Eli. And Eli was something else. I remember walking him back to the unit from where we picked the dogs up, and I was holding the leash so tight, my hands hurt, I was sweaty, and I was terrified he was gonna bolt and run off, and I was gonna get in a bunch of trouble because the dog ran off across the compound. But of course, Eli walked perfectly, loose leash, walked all the way back to the unit like all Summit dogs do. It was count time. My cellie was at work, and so I was alone in the cell with Eli. And I sat on the edge of the bunk, and he sniffed around like dogs do and checked the whole cell out. Not much, 8 by 10, standard prison size. And then he sat on the middle of the cell on the floor and was looking at me, and I was looking at him, and he was looking at me. And I moved down and sat on the floor, and he came over and he set his chin right on my shoulder. I practiced this speech too. This didn't happen.
Just think about dog bark.
Yeah. I hugged him close and I started crying. I'd lost a lot at that point, obviously. I lost my freedom, I'd lost family members. I hadn't cried. In prison, you don't cry. At least you don't cry when other people can see you cry. And I sat there and I cried and I cried. It was a completely unexpected reaction. I didn't see coming. And the negativity, everything just, it went away. It went away in my tears, it soaked into his fur. And that moment of my life was completely different. After that moment, that was a watershed moment in my ship that was sailing. It was poignant and profound, and I'll never forget it. I was involved in many of the programs while at TRU. I was a senior facilitator in many of those programs. In fact, I started a couple programs, and I wrote the curriculum for them. I was involved in a lot of stuff. They're all great programs. A lot of them are cognitive behavior therapy based to help guys become the best versions of themselves in a place where that is a challenge. But honestly, most of the prison programs are just something to do to earn a certificate to show the parole board. Look what I did. Look what I've been doing. I'm proving my worth. I'm proving I'm worth a consideration for release. Or just to occupy time in the mundane existence of serving a long prison sentence. But this dog program was and is much, much different. On December 12th of last year, Governor Inslee granted me a meritorious sentence commutation, and I was released on March 4th of this year. Just a few short months ago, I couldn't have imagined standing here on Whidbey Island speaking to all of you. I couldn't have imagined all of the firsts in my life, driving across Deception Pass Bridge, all of the firsts. There's been, every day is a first. I went to prison a year before the internet. I think a lot of people in this room know what, before the internet. The day of my release, I walked out of the prison after seeing Sue and my family, and everybody was there, and I was handed an iPhone. I felt like a caveman who got thawed out of the ice block, shaved, and handed an iPhone. Because whether I missed the internet by a year or missed the internet by 1,000 years, it's the same difference. I missed it. I don't know anything about this stuff. The technology learning curve has been the hardest, one of the hardest. But I still feel that I'm out of place. I feel like even before you knew that I was in prison, I feel like sometimes people can look at me and can tell. Most of my life was there. And I feel like that it's always going to be a part of me, as much as I don't want it to be, but then that's part of who I am. This transition process from 3.5 decades plus in prison back to the world has been somewhat overwhelming, but I'm here. I'm okay. I know I'm not going to do everything perfectly. I approach life with patience and resiliency. I give myself and others grace when it's needed, and I just try again, and I give them a chance to try again. And these are the traits that I learn to practice on a daily basis at TRU in this dog program, because it takes infinite patience to train dogs, especially some of the more complex shaping that we train with the service dogs. You have to have patience, and you have to have resiliency dealing with the dog training, the other trainers in that environment, dealing with staff. It's hard. And the guys that do it and stay with it are guys that make the commitment to change, the true commitment to change. To stay present and engaged in the training and the care is something I dedicated my life to while at TRU. It was the best times of my life. I miss that dog program. I miss the guys. I have friends there that I've known for years, some decades, that are still there. And I'm here, free, and they're still there. I think it's some sort of survivor's guilt, you know. I know there's guys in there that deserve a second chance more than I deserved it, and they're still there. So who gets to see him every Tuesday. I suppose I'm still trying to find myself, figure out what I want to do, where I want my life to go. I'm making new friends, I'm fitting in. Thank you, Sue, sincerely, and everyone at Summit who made us in there part of your life. Even when all this other stuff was going on, you found time to go start a major program in a prison that had such profound impact on me and everyone else. And it's not a small thing, dealing with that, dealing with the prison, dealing with the bureaucracy, dealing with that, and staying dedicated to it. Even through COVID, we were the only program that really got to stay intact through COVID. There was a couple of stops and starts, but the dogs were there most of the time. And that saved us. Thank you to everyone who supports Summit. The ripples, the positive ripples that go out are beyond what anyone can really imagine. They go around the coves and up into the harbors, and they're felt. So just know that this program, this organization affects a lot of people you'll never hear from, a lot of people who will never get out of prison. But they're there, and this is the most important thing in their lives. And so thank you.
If that doesn't get you right where you live, the door is right there. Kyle, you're seen. Just like our clients, they're seen. Kyle's seen. Thank you. Thank you. It is my pleasure to now introduce Carlene Schmelke, who is our vice president on the board. And she's going to say some nice things about it.
I'm actually going to ask for some nice things. I'm like Kyle, I won't do the Bible vocals. Alright, hi, my name is Carlene, and I'm a board member and a long-time volunteer with Summit, 25 years volunteer. I can't believe that. So today, as we celebrate 25 years of life-changing service dog partnerships, we also have the momentous opportunity to secure Summit's future, to ensure that we can create more partnerships in the years to come. If you haven't already supported our Unleash Your Love campaign, I'd like to ask you to join me in making a gift today so that we can have more people and dogs that can reach their full potential together. And we have an amazing challenge match that I'm excited to announce. An anonymous donor is determined to help us reach our $250,000 goal. If we can reach $150,000 in donations by May 31st, they will award us an additional $100,000. And even better news, as of this morning, we are almost halfway to receiving the generous match. So, how do we get there? You can make a gift here at our check-in table or in our merchandise tables using a credit card, check, or cash. You can also use the QR code signs or take a donation envelope to your home to mail in your gift. If you've already made your donation, Unleash Your Love, we thank you so much. We do have one more additional incentive today. At the end of the month, we will draw 2 names out of the 2025 Unleash Your Love donors, and they will win a beautiful quilt made by Summit supporter Ketty Musson. So now I'd like to call up Sue and a special guest to help us with our official ribbon tugging ceremony to dedicate the Canine Condo.
So we have a special little treat. We have, instead of a ribbon cutting ceremony, we have a ribbon tugging ceremony. And we wanted to do that in front of Chris's Canine Condo sign since we can't get everybody out here. So the special guest of honor is Volko, trained by Lindy, and
all right.
Good boy, Volko. And that concludes our little program, but we have music by the King Tides coming in about 15 minutes after they get set up on stage. So please do stick around, eat food, drink, tour, visit, whatever. So thanks so much.
Good job. They would like to blow your eyes out.